How's it going, everyone? Today we're doing a trade recap. This was Thursday, October 26th. It was Meta earnings. So being that there was a catalyst behind this specific stock, I was going to be focusing on my momentum strategies, the ones that I highlight in my day trading options guide. The reason why I think these momentum strategies work best on a stock like this and when there's news is because there's elevated volume. There's a lot of people watching it, so those quick patterns have a better probability of following through, and it did so today. So what did I do? I traded puts, got a nice move to the downside, and I made $755 in 5 minutes, which is awesome. So the one thing that's very important and I'm trying to be better at is identifying those days where those momentum strategies have a better probability of working out. And then when the other days happen where we're in a range, we're sideways, there's no market news, there's no individual stock news, just making sure to focus more on a break and retest style trading, or at least let things break and have a period of consolidation before jumping into a trade. And that's one of the tough things about trading, because if you focus on momentum strategies on those days where it's range bound, they do not work. And then if you focus on those range bound strategies on momentum days, that's where you can get caught off sides pretty quickly. So it's all about trying to identify the day, identify the individual stock, and then have strategies set in place that are going to make sense for that specific stock. And today, when Meta had earnings, I knew I was going to focus on those momentum strategies. So we'll go over the technicals and then the actual live trade itself. Now to get into the daily chart. So what happened the prior day? This was the prior day. Big downside candle. Also, a lot of weakness in the overall market. Closed below the 50 SMA and closed just below psychological whole number 300. And then this was the reaction to the earnings. Big move to the downside, big move to the upside, and then it just faded. And then it stayed weak, and it was gapping down in the pre-market. So just having the mentality that, okay, the overall market is weak. We had some weakness from the prior day. Maybe there could be some continuation just because that's the market environment right now at this specific moment. Now it's just about identifying some levels. So what am I going to be looking at? Prior day low. So 298.84. That's going to be a main level. If we push up into that area, we can't get above it. That is some supply. We start to roll over. Maybe there could be some downside continuation. Also, another level to the downside was going to be pre-market low, which was 286.28. And we'll make this light blue just because I like to make pre-market high, pre-market low, a light blue. So the mentality is that coming into the day, okay, what happens if we have a push off the open? If we fail at that prior day low, we start to roll over, we form some sort of pattern, the momentum patterns that I talk about. Maybe this could break that pre-market low and get some downside continuation. But rather than just thinking that that has to happen, it's all about waiting for price action to show that, to prove that that downside pressure is going to happen, and then wait for a spot to get short, and then just ride that momentum to the downside. And that's exactly what I did. There was a nice move to the downside off the open, a failed push to VWAP. We then rolled back over. I ended up taking a short just before that support break and then rode the momentum to the downside and got a nice scalp out of it. So now to get into the actual trade. So what happened? Sellers basically took control right off the open. Look at that 295 down to 288 drop. That is a big move to the downside. And now it's all about watching this bounce. Can buyers step in, potentially bring this back towards the highs? If not, then this could have more downside continuation. And what do we have right here? We have a failed bounce at VWAP. It's rejecting that VWAP and the 9 EMA. And then as we go to make that new low, I want to anticipate kind of that quick bear flag, really just slash a support break to the downside and just go with the overall momentum, which has been to the downside. Also, we have the daily that's recently been to the downside and the overall market. So everything is lining up. So I took the 285 puts, 5 of them, and I got a fill price at $3.70. Now let's pause this and just break down the numbers. Look at how much money it took to be involved in this trade. Only $1,850. So that's the really cool thing with options. Obviously, options can go the other way. If you're trading with a small amount of money, you can lose a lot of it really quick. But as long as you're taking those structured trades, managing risk well, you can be involved in these big caps with a pretty small amount of money, because for under 2,000 bucks, I was able to take this trade. And we got that support break. So now it's just about riding this momentum. How far down can this go? I have no idea. But once I'm in the money, because if you look at the top, they're trading at about $4. My entry price was $3.70. I don't want to let this trade go red. There's no reason to let this come back to my entry and go past that, because if this does not break down, it can reverse aggressively the other way. but I feel pretty good about it because it's showing that sellers are continuously in control and these candles are just very aggressive to the downside. So that 288 support break, nice entry, got some follow through, and now it's just about protecting that price, $3.70. And I want to see how far down this can go because I have no idea, but obviously I am a scalper. So I want to make sure that when I get an aggressive move in my favor, I want to take those profits. But I just want to see how this reacts at 285. Kind of as we get into those whole numbers, 286, 285, 284, sometimes that's where liquidity can be. And I just want to see if we can hold above those levels or not. But really, this is just about riding it to the downside because I have no idea how far it's going to go. And even though I held on to this for 5 minutes, I think I did a really good job at least holding through this first bounce because sometimes I can get out on that pop. But I was just trying to think mentally that as long as this stays below that 288, then I think that we have a chance for maybe one more move lower. I'm always going to take those quick profits, but I was just looking for one more move lower. Wanted to be a little bit patient, and I like that rejection candle. That pop into 286, you get that big kind of topping tail wick, forming a bit of a bear flag, but really just kind of another support break or new low a day. And once this makes a new low, I want to make sure to just take my profits because I think that's a pretty good move. I got 4 points on the actual stock, a nice move on the options. And anytime I get a move like that, I'm just going to take those profits. If it continues to go without me, then that's all right because I'm all about just getting the meat of the move. I'm not trying to get the whole piece. And I just want to see now, look at this 284, kind of a triple bottom on the 2 minute. And if it can break that, when we get a wash out of that, I just want to take profits into that because it has been a very nice move lower. So I'm just watching, waiting, and I want to see, can this break below it? And if so, we got a nice little move to the downside. Feel pretty good about it. Maybe this could get to 283, another area of liquidity, flips back above 284. I'm just going to take my profits, and that's exactly what I did. Sold all my contracts at $5.21. So got a really nice move off the open. Meta to the downside, had that earnings report. Sellers took control off the open. The failed bounce to VWAP in the 9 EMA, took that support break and just rode the momentum to the downside and made $755 in 5 minutes, which is great. So that was the trade recap. I appreciate you watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.